Hey everyone, if you're what? Hey everyone, if you're watching this video, I hope you have watched the other previous videos up to this point. It's very important to understand why we care. What is our why for AWS? Why should we use AWS? Why is it important? And why am I standing up here talking about it? It's very important because as you learn the console itself, you're going to learn a lot of new vocabulary. It's going to be a huge learning curve, especially for those that are transitioning into tech like myself. So with the high overview, it's very important to understand the purpose of why this entire thing was built. So there are 4 reasons, right? So I want you guys to remember these things. So why AWS? And 1, scalability. 2, cost effective. 3 is flexibility. And 4 is high availability. And elasticity. Now, we've covered all of these terms before in our previous videos, so if you are unfamiliar with these terms, you should probably take a step back and review them either on the AWS, the white papers, or previous videos, or you can easily just look them up on Google and familiarize yourself with these terms, because these right here are the 4 reasons why we care. The why, the meat and potatoes of why we do AWS, why I'm standing up here, and why it's important to understand AWS's infrastructure. So just to recall, scalability, this gives us the ability to build resources in our VPC, our virtual private cloud, anytime we are receiving traffic. For example, if I know that my website is going to be extremely busy during Black Friday, I have the ability to provision or build more resources or more EC2 instances to prepare for that high volume of traffic coming in to my website. That way, you going onto my website won't run into any errors or saying that famous 404 error that everyone sees. You won't run into that. And that's very important for me as a customer of AWS, because I want people who are going onto my website to have the least amount of trouble as they're purchasing their items. So the ability to scale, right? I can build things anytime, literally any time of the day, night, doesn't matter. I can build it right away. Cost effectiveness. Now, remember, cost effectiveness is very important. If someone ever asks you why we care about AWS, number 1 answer I want you to say is cost effective, right? Because that's what a lot of customers really care about, that it is more cost effective to use the cloud rather than calling someone to deliver these huge databases and have an entire warehouse full of these big boxes with wires, and it just combines into a huge mess, right? On top of that, when your job is over, when you go home, let's say it's 8 o'clock, the electricity is still running at your company or at your building, and you're being billed for something that you're not even using, right? Just imagine that if you're driving past your building and you're like, well, why are the lights on? No one's in there. You're being billed for that. So it's very important that we try to avoid those things by utilizing AWS, because it can use cost effectiveness very efficiently, because you can shut down your resources whenever you want, depending on how much traffic is coming in. So if no one is using it, you can shut them down so you're not charged excessively, right? So just remember the term pay as you go, right? That's something that AWS uses a lot, pay as you go. Flexibility. Now, remember, flexibility allows us to not only provision resources whenever we want, but it allows us to access the AWS console in different ways. We can either access it through the command line, we can access it through the graphic user interface. And if you're using command line, remember that in Windows it's command line, and Mac OS and Linux it is terminal. So it's very flexible in how you can access the console itself. If you want to just go to www.aws.amazon.console.com, you can easily do that, or you can access it through the command line. So it's very flexible in how you can go into the system and edit it and build and remove things. So last but not least is high availability and elasticity. Now remember, in my previous example, I used Netflix to show high availability and elasticity. Remember that if there is a high volume of traffic that is coming into our website or going onto Netflix, we have to utilize more resources to handle that incoming traffic, right? So we use load balancers and things of that nature to increase the usage of our resources depending on how much traffic is coming in. So it makes it highly available. Now, remember that highly available or high availability also operates through failure, right? So even if something malfunctions within the infrastructure of your website, high availability allows the AWS console to work through those errors or those failures. Fault tolerance, elasticity. Let's just say everyone is done watching that show on Netflix and the traffic goes down, right? That is what elasticity is in AWS. It allows us to scale in, right? Remember how we scaled out to handle that traffic? Elasticity just means we're coming back in, which means we're shutting down those resources, we're saving our money. We know that not a lot of people will be on Netflix at 1 in the morning, so we don't need to run all those databases to handle traffic that won't be coming in there at that time. So it's elastic. So remember this: scalability, cost-effective, flexibility, and high availability, and elasticity. There's one more thing that is not on here. It is actually fault tolerance. Fault tolerance is very important. It gives the AWS console the ability to continue running despite a failure. It readjusts the traffic of where things are going if there is an infrastructure breakdown. For example, if there is an EC2 instance in a certain availability zone that is malfunctioning and is not working, fault tolerance in AWS allows to redirect that traffic automatically to another EC2 instance in order to pick up that traffic and pick up the slack when that one EC2 instance is down. So it automatically does that. It adjusts as it goes. If something breaks down, it's fault tolerant. It can adjust right away and it can make those changes effectively, given that you created the environment like that, right? You have to create the environment thinking that it could fail, right? So that's the number one thing. You have to build the environment thinking that if something fails. So fault tolerance allows you to, if something fails, it picks up the slack somewhere else and allows you to use your website or your servers smoothly. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.